All right. Okay, guys, we're live. Thank you, everyone, to come that have come to join us. I'm very, very excited for this chat today because I've been waiting to talk about Sabarimala for quite a while, and I wanted to get someone on that knows about this issue inside out. I've been following this person for quite a while, and her work was, part of the way definitely responsible for me actually looking deeper into the issues underlying Sabarimala and trying to understand the issues under it. So I'm very, very happy today to welcome to the show Anjali George, who's an activist, writer, and performer who is very passionate about the preservation of Indic and indigenous cultures. She's also one of the pioneers behind the Ready to Wait movement, which was launched to protect the tradition in Sabarimala and launched to protect it from the excesses of the sort of leftist brigade. So I'm very excited to start talking to her. So please welcome to the show, Anjali ji.
Hello, Sham, and very glad to be in your show. And thank you for giving this opportunity.
No, thank you, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. So, one of the things that we were talking about this a little bit earlier as well, and one of the things that sort of made me sit up and think once the Sabarimala issue happened, because my first reaction in my head, and thankfully I was sensible enough not to go vomiting all over the internet, but my first reaction when I heard about the Sabarimala issue was that, that same knee-jerk reaction as to why are women not being allowed? This sounds very wrong, and so on and so forth. And then I started seeing, tweets about the Ready to Wait movement, tweets from you, tweets from other women as well. And I was like, what? There seems to be quite a few women that seems to be, talking about the tradition. So maybe it would be better if I try to learn about what the tradition is. And once you start to learn about the tradition, you start realizing that this is not a question of discrimination. This is a question of the deity in a temple trying to preserve his vow, his vratam. So talk to me a little bit about how the Ready to Wait campaign came about.
So we were in the social media, you being bit vocal about our political and genuinely interested in the culture, and so we in social media somehow those who fight when some atheists or people talk very, there is a big group in Kerala, there was a big group in Malayalam Facebook which has been acting too much against the Hindu beliefs and some atheist group. So while fighting in that, or when they write things, are like, oh, this is not how we have been hearing, so let us find out what the truth is. So that's how, and let us get the points to counter them. So with all these mindsets, we met few people in the Facebook, and became a group so that we can share the ideas and equip ourselves to fight back. So that group slowly we started, everybody will have their own level of knowledge regarding the Hindu culture and practices. So whenever some issue comes, whenever the media go ballistic against the Hindu customs, we try to find out what it is, how it is, and write about it from the Hindu perspective. So that was the time when in 2016 the Sabarimala case came up again. So the case was actually filed in 2006, but it was almost at its end stage. So the media, everybody was so confident that it is going to be the woman, the gender justice is going to be enforced, and they were talking a lot. And meanwhile, some random women started some campaign, happy to bleed, and some women were like, all this menstruation and everything, very too much of such things. And these all people were mostly are either atheists or some leftists or some converted Christians or something like that. And and the discourse which they were into was very, 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 it was not something which we could really stand. It was not very decent either. So we were very hurt seeing all these, like, ridiculing Ayyappa, and everyone mocking at the temple, and so we thought, okay, we need to find out the story of, what is the reason behind the ritual and everything. We need to write about it. And so we did some research and wrote an article. Me with a friend wrote an article in Malayalam, and our friends, others also have been writing in Facebook and everything. And then I later made the same with the same findings, wrote that in English in Mind. That's how we were kind of learning. And during that time, this Haji Ali thing came up, and Shani Shingnapur temple issue came up, Tripti Desai came. So the media has been using all these to target Sabarimala, and they were threatening that next is Sabarimala. So that really made us kind of tensed, and we got really panicked, and we were like, we need to do something. I mean, with our capacity, what we can do. That was what we were thinking. And then we can actually. So there was one debate by Arnab Goswami in Times Now, which was very. So in that, so before that, somehow Times Now people, one woman from Times Now called me, because somebody gave my number and told I know some details about Sabarimala and all. So then I was like, I was reluctant to go to Times Now anyway, so I referred them to. But then I was like, anyway, media approach us, then it's an opportunity to speak. So we discussed in our group what we do. Then we were like, okay, so then we can actually, the Padma Pillai, she speaks very well, and she is more more knowledgeable in my way. So then, okay, we can get Padma Chechi to speak with them, and that's how we gave her number. And she's in India, and so that's how they took her bite. So we thought that will be coming in the debate. So we eagerly watched the debate, and that made us so pissed off with whatever was they were talking. And Padma Chechi's bite didn't come, I think, I don't remember. But that really made us eagerly watch this debate, which made us really unhappy about the kind of discourse that was happening there. So we thought, okay, we react. So we what we do, and then we reacted with all the points which they were telling. We were correcting the points on Twitter, and we put hashtag ready to wait, just to say that, you see, you might have right to pray, but we are ready to wait. So when we are ready to wait, the real devotees are ready to wait, then this atheists and feminists don't have any say in how the devotees have to think, because we know how to speak for ourselves, and we can tell that ourselves. So we don't need an advocacy by some atheists to tell that how the Hindu woman should feel and how the Hindu woman should think. So that was the premise that these thoughts we reciprocated in the Facebook posts and all, which was kind of accepted by every other Malayali. Lot of other Malayali women also really found it, yeah, that is what, or agreed with it, and they took it forward. So those posts, never we got any that much shares and likes before. And but that became so viral. Then we were like, yeah, we should do much more. So we came up with the idea of holding the placard ready to wait. And so because which is with more easier and the usual way of protest, which can be kind of establishing a statement. So that received very well. The media also called us and took this news from social media to the media. And so that's how it started. Then the people received. It's like, I think the women were really waiting for somebody to tell, so that they can repeat, because everybody had this in their mind. Otherwise, they all lot of people, Malayali women, especially from across the globe, then Tamil, Telugu, everybody joined. A lot of North Indians also joined. Everybody, they made photos of theirs, videos of theirs. I mean, we haven't asked anyone to do that
Yeah.
in person, because most of the people we came to know also after that only. I mean, in course of time. So that means it is the opinion of the people, and the things what precedently that also acknowledges this fact that, yeah. So that is the story of Ready to Wait.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting because I feel like there was so much, and still today there is so much misinformation from the left and from the media about this issue, because the narrative that is being built around Sabarimala, that is still to this day being built around Sabarimala, is that this is an issue of woman hating. This is an issue of women somehow being impure. This is an issue of, oh, because women menstruate, that means women are not good enough, and that is why women are not allowed into the this is the narrative that is essentially being pushed. You see that all over social media, you see that everywhere. Have you noticed that there has been any sort of shift? Before we actually talk about the narrative, have you noticed that there has been any sort of shift in information and people getting the right kind of information, uh, and the opinion sort of changing to an extent? How much of that have you seen?
Lot, because see, lot of people, I mean, not in Kerala anyway, everybody had a idea, but outside, those people who are not associated with the Sabarimala temple, who don't know anyone who have been uh, doing the pilgrimage, are also now using these words, Naishya Brahmacharya and the rights of the deity, and our lawyer Sai Deepak's arguments, and that all are, well, it has reached places. And I think, with all this much coverage, from every WhatsApp group or Twitter or Facebook pages or wherever, at least one person got to know about it. That, I think, that is a huge achievement, because that has helped in changing the narrative to a large extent among the Hindus. Yeah, the media has been pushing the menstruation angle. The feminists have been continuously parroting the same thing again and again. But the common Hindus, I can see common Hindus countering it with this angle, with these arguments related with the DT and everything. We look at Twitter, Facebook, or wherever. It's normal people. Nobody, no, it's not any paid bots or some celebrity or somebody who is well researched in all this. I mean, who can assume we consider to be a scholar or well researched. It's normal people, normal Hindus are talking all these things. That means it has reached everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And talking about the narrative as well, it's very interesting because I feel like, first of all, I wonder sometimes why, at least the news channels. I understand the folks on the left on social media. I understand why they're doing it, because even if even if you sit and explain everything to them, they're not going to take it on board, because for them, Hindu traditions and Hindu philosophy is anathema. So I understand them. But it's very interesting to see a lot of news channels that you would think would try to at least take both sides of the story into account, are not doing so. They're not talking about, I mean, it is only through looking at different places and in certain pockets in social media that you're really hearing about the vratam that we were talking about earlier, that people are talking, okay, there's this 41-day vratam that you need to do, and this is something that is prescribed. This is not a whim that people are doing on their own. This is something that is prescribed, that if you would like to go visit Ayyappa at Sabarimala, then there is this 41-day vratam that you have to do. and the women in a certain age are not able to follow the vratam. A lot of men also don't follow the vratam and therefore do not go to Sabarimala. So it's almost, I feel like almost no one is talking about it, and it's a very strange thing because it is, when it comes to essential practices, that vratam is as essential as it probably gets in Sabarimala, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. See, the people think it is like, every other temple. When you go to a temple or across in India, whichever temple you go, you just go there and you pray or you do whatever puja is needed. So the basic concept people think about a temple is like that. But in Kerala also there are temples like that. But here in Sabarimala, when you go, you have to follow this. Sabarimala temple darshan is only the the third or the last part of the entire Ayyappa rituals or the pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage. It's not that we cannot say that it's Sabarimala temple darshan. You just go and have a darshan. It's actually a pilgrimage. So this pilgrimage includes the 41 days before you start your Viradam by taking Diksha from a Guru Swami.
Mm.
So Guru Swami is everyone who take the Vradam and go to observe this Sabarimala pilgrimage are Swamis. Everyone call them Swami Ayyappa. They are Swami. No one call them with their names. Everybody, even if in the street, if you see some random person with the attire and everything for going to Sabarimala, they are addressed as Swami by others or Ayyappa. They are not addressed as some random guy or
Wow.
some with his name or his position. Everybody is known as Swami or Ayyappa. So means they by taking this. So Guru Swami is like a guru because he will be a person who have done this pilgrimage 18 times, 18 years in his life. He has done this pilgrimage. That's how he get this qualification of being a Guru Swami. And a Guru Swami only can give the Diksha for this Vradam.
Mm.
And giving the one mala, and they wear the black and they follow strict lifestyle for 41 days. And that 41 days strict lifestyle, including abstinence from all kind of intoxicants and the sex and life, very sattvic life with vegetarian food, and they get up in the morning and they take a dip, shower and they do all the rituals and they all together. So it's more like a community worship system. So that to observe this 41 days Vrata, one man clearly need the support of his family, his woman. If the woman, that is why the people, before they decide to start this Vradam and go to Sabarimala, they ask permission of their woman.
Mm.
Because if without their support, this person cannot complete his Vradam. It is the women who are actually enabling the Vradam of these men and sending them to the temple. So women are an inherent part of this pilgrimage. The Sabarimala temple cannot exist without women. So nobody is trying to understand this backstory. See, that temple is there and people are going there. But before that, they undergo a lot of real struggle, real tests to reach there.
Mm.
So it's a journey, and that journey denotes life. So by undergoing all these and reaching there, then only you remove all your aham and understand that the secret of life. That is the basic gist if you go to the philosophy. That is why it is written in front of the temple that Tattvamasi is written. It's not that Ayyappa told Tattvamasi.
Mm.
Ayyappa told Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is written in Upanishad. And it is the gist of our entire spiritual journey. So that spiritual journey, we are doing it through a crash course.
Yep.
That is what Vradam. So it's basically an Advaitic school which is taught to the common man through the community participation. The entire society is learning it through 41 days of intense religious activity. So we cannot see Sabarimala as a single temple where anybody can just go, and so it's not. The significance of Sabarimala temple and why it is so important, it's because it helps the entire community to hold the together, rejuvenate the spirituality, rejuvenate the, remember and practice the basics of our the philosophy of the Sanatana Dharma within this 41 days.
Yes.
Which is very beautiful and very amazing, because
Exactly.
we take whole life for that. And so for that, so this is really not just one individual's activity. One individual just like that cannot decide for going to Sabarimala. He need the support of his community. Really, really, it is a community activity, and that has a lot of an impact in keeping the men in order. See, that is why women really don't want to go there, because their men are. It is this, or what this pilgrimage ensures. The Vratam ensures that the men are learning how to behave. Which women would want otherwise?
Yeah.
I think this is the most feministic, ritual in this world, because this is enabling the women to keep their men in order.
That's fantastic. I have to make sure my girlfriend doesn't find out about Ayyappa then. So it's interesting, the way you put it. If somebody sat down and just tried to hear you out, just the way you put this question, then they would get at least a gist of what they're trying to say, whether or not they agree with you or not. But at least they will understand the point of view that sort of Sabarimala and the traditionist Sabarimala is trying to get across. And you can hear again, people are saying, the media is saying, the same people on the left are saying that, just like Islam and Christianity have certain things that are essential, this vratam is not essential to Hinduism. But again, that's completely, I feel like, missing the point when it comes to Hinduism, because we were talking about this before we went live, that in Bihar, where I am from, what is essential to Biharis when they're celebrating Chhat may not be essential to a Tamil Hindu, may not be essential to a Punjabi Hindu, may not be essential to a Kashmiri Hindu, but it is essential to a Bihari Hindu. Same way, when people in Sabarimala are following their tradition, what is essential to them becomes an essential practice.
Yes.
Hinduism doesn't work that way. Hinduism is not a set of rules codified in a book where you have to be like, do this, and that is the only thing that you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to do anything else. That is a complete antithesis of what
Yes.
Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma is supposed to be. And so when I hear people on media, when I hear people on social media say stuff like this, that this vratam is not essential, then I feel like they're completely missing the point as to what Hinduism is.
Yeah.
So I find that very interesting. That people who do not understand the most basic thing about India's culture and about how Indian philosophy is supposed to work are coming around and are telling Indians what is essential in their philosophy, which they don't understand to begin with in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So see, that is, I understand that their ignorance, one thing, they don't acknowledge that they are ignorant about the basics of our civilizational, how our civilization works. How the various traditions here are essentially, which constitute what we are. So they are blindly, most of these people, and they really think through this Western framework, and the Western experience of tradition or the ideas which they foist as the feminism or gender equality or this universal application of liberal ideas. that all have their reason, which is justified in the West due to their historical experiences. As long as we Indians haven't been sharing the same experience as the West, we cannot blindly adopt their point of view and prescribe the way how we should proceed and how we should act based on their symptoms and signs and symptoms. It's like looking at a patient with for some other disease, like some gastrointestinal disease, and using the same medicine for some neurological disease some other person has. So there is clearly a difference between the Indian experience, Indian culture, how it originated, how the whole experience went through these ages, and how it reached here, and the basic way of thinking of Indians. Everything is totally different, and we need to acknowledge that. We need to understand that and try to look, as I told earlier, try to remove that goggles which were given to us by the Westerners during the colonial period, and try to look at us through our naked eye, using our own eye. Then a lot of things may change. Really, that is something which we really need try to achieve, rather than learning to. I mean, even if we learn a lot, read a lot of philosophical texts, and get some guru, and practice, and you learn a lot about the basic, learn all the Vedas. You take by the books and you read and you learn all the Vedas. But if you cannot understand this basic difference, then you use Vedas also to you through this colonial lens, and then use that also to you for the civilizing mission.
Right. It's so interesting because they say, because when you talk to sort of liberals, people on the left, about what should political systems around the world look like, they will tell you that well, political systems around the world need to take into account the ground realities and the culture, the indigenous cultures of each country. Then they
Yeah.
say, okay, what is an economic system of global economic system should look like? So they say, oh, there should not be a global economic system. For economic systems also, you have to take into account the culture and the economic realities of each country separately. But when you talk about cultural things, they say, oh no, one size fits all. One solution for everyone,
That,
one ring to rule them all.
so no, that one size fits all only in India.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that I think that has to do something with our Indian elites, Indian English elites. They are the real. I think that is more. This attitude has more to do with them, because they don't consider the heathens of India to be somebody who are qualified enough to take decisions, or run a country, or that white men left, but their
Yeah.
burden still stays with these brown sahibs. But the liberals in the other areas, for example, in the West and all, they consider the rights of the indigenous population everywhere. But when it comes to the Hindus, the the people with whom they get in touch to know about Hinduism, or from whom they hear about the things happening in India, are these brown sahibs of India.
Yeah.
That is why I think, since I live in West, what I see, even this during this Sabarimala, all these protests and everything was happening, one woman from BBC contacted me, from London. So she happened to, I think when she searched about, she just saw agency reports about Sabarimala, and when she searched, she just saw my tweet in Twitter and maybe have contacted me, I guess so. So I got an opportunity because of that. Since she approached me through Twitter, I got an opportunity to speak. So I spoke my perspective, my version. So their radio carried that version.
Mm.
But otherwise, most of these people will who want to, these journos from the West who want to know about these things, they might be contacting some fellow journos in India or some fellow Indian journal.
Yeah.
Then the story they get are purely the ones which is on the opposite side. That we can see. Yesterday I saw a German newspaper carried a news about Indian temple attacking, women who want to enter the temple. Just looking at that, it is really embarrassing.
It's
And
very misleading. It's very
yes,
misleading.
yes, but nowhere it has been written, or nowhere they I don't blame them, because they got info from those people who showed only these men, the photo of men also. See, the protest had unprecedented participation of women, and that women's photos are not shown anywhere in German media. Then we cannot blame them in any way, because they would be looking at some English media from India to
Yeah.
get the info, or they will be contacting some English journalist from India, or some journalist who is stationed in India, who all are part of that kind of that class in India, who basically have very much high contempt towards the normal, common, unwashed mass.
Yeah, that's very true. Because you see, yeah, sure, go ahead. Sorry.
No, this disparity is the reason for the misrepresentation.
It's true because you can see, it one of the complaints that sort of Indic writers, Indic philosophers have about India is that our premier institutions, our premier colleges, and our what are supposed to be India's premier institutions, they train people because they have adopted, completely almost adopted, that British system that was put upon us. It trains us to become followers. It doesn't train us to become leaders. It doesn't train us to assert ourselves and take the lead. In India, if you notice, most of these political leaders that are coming up, no matter what you think about their ideology, whether it's Narendra Modi, whether it's somebody like Mayawati, whether it's somebody like Lalu Prasad, Mulayam Yadav, these people are not coming from IIT, IIM, St. Stephen's. These people are coming from the ground. These are people of the soil, no matter what you think about their politics, right? So the people, the Shashi Tharoors, the premier institute educated people, these people are not going there to become leaders. They are becoming followers of these people that are coming from the ground, just so they can feed the scraps off of them. So unfortunately, it is the complete opposite of an American system, where in an American system, people are encouraged, throw your hat in the ring, try to become a leader, throw your hat in the ring to become a leader. In India, it's opposite. In India, people choose a leader.
Yeah.
A party sits around and chooses a leader. Okay, you go, we will just follow you, and we will just get the money off of you. So the system is very strange, and because the system is like this, we are trained automatically to look outside for influence, look outside for solutions. We can never It is almost impossible for these people to look inside for solutions, and which is why you see the reaction, I feel like, that is happening to Sabarimala, that they're using that same exact sort of European, American framework, and they're applying it to Sabarimala. They're saying, okay, that thing and Sabarimala are exactly the same, which is completely not true, which is why you're seeing this weird dissonance, I feel, right?
Not just that. That is also a reason. And then we look at our syllabus.
Yeah.
We look at the history syllabus, for example, which is supposed to be, or can also become an opportunity for teaching Indians what India is. There, if you look at the Hindu, anything which is about Hinduism or the Hindu leaders, which has been taught in our history, most of the majority of the space is given to those people from Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who have changed or removed all that what is evil in Hinduism. So this notion of there is a lot of evil and changing it is what is making us civilized is injected through that. No one, no, I don't. I have studied history till post graduation. So anyway, and my mother is a school history teacher, so I have happened to see the history books, textbooks for 3 4 generations because of that, from childhood onwards. See, you don't hear about Ramanujacharya. You don't hear about the Bhakti poets who were, you may hear about them, but you won't hear about the how they transcended the caste, and how they actually how this Hindu society worked beyond caste, cutting across caste. That narrative is not shown. Instead, the all interest is into feeding us that we were, as our system was as evil as the feudal dark age in Europe. We were so regressive, we are so bad, we are doomed to fail. So nothing is given in our books to build a kind of a confidence, on just not even confidence, just to feel good about ourselves,
Yeah.
just to feel good about the ancestors. See, if you don't feel anything good about yourself or your ancestors, you always keep your head bit low. You cannot stand straight and heads up and face the world. So I think this way of, so that is also a kind of, see, who will look at a population through that kind of attitude, that yeah, you are a bad, everything about it, this is bad, this is your ancestors were all bad, that is why you are all in this, all this negative situation. That can be fed into somebody only if that person who is feeding that really don't want this person to stand straight.
Right.
So the people who really designed our curriculum really didn't want us to stand up for our rights. So we happened to had. I think they wanted always us to be, like the villagers of Sholay. That is one scene which always I keep in, comes in my mind, that when that guys ask them to react also after this, when those dakus come, these people just stand like that.
Yep.
So that is what I think these entities wanted Indians to be.
It's true, and in such a large part, they've succeeded as well. It's just, I think it's just, another example of something like that. I remember when I was in school, there used to be this chapter on Guru Nanak. They used to teach us, and they used to teach us how Guru Nanak apparently founded this new religion altogether, and it was some new thing that apparently dropped on his head one day, and he said, "Okay, this is a new thing." But what they don't teach us is what Guru Nanak was actually talking about was, what he was actually talking about was the most lean form of Advaitism, is what he was talking about, was the leanest form of Advaitism possible. And another reason that contributed to that they don't talk about, is the fact that in Punjab, which was a Muslim dominated area, it was very hard for somebody to have idols, because if the Muslim rurals saw idols, immediately those idols would be destroyed and your family might be harmed. So you don't have murtis that you can keep in your house or keep in your temple. So that Advaitism was almost a natural progression. When you're not allowed to have murtis in your house and in your temple, that sort of Advaitism will naturally develop. So they don't teach you that. They just teach you that one day this idea fell on Guru Nanak's head, and he said, okay, this is a new religion, which is again completely far from the truth. And you can see which is, in part at least, responsible for the Khalistani problem that we're facing today. So it's part of that. And I actually want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the response to Sabarimala,
Mhm.
because the response to Sabarimala, I think, is something that nobody expected. Neither people on the right, I feel like, in a lot of cases, and definitely not people on the left. They
Yeah.
did not expect women in the tens of thousands to come out and stake their claim, and stake the claim for tradition. And you see all these women you watch all these news clips and you watch all these videos of the protests, and you see all these moms and grandmoms just walking peacefully, just quietly, just but speaking up for their tradition. And it is such a heartening, overwhelming response that I think, you can see from the Kerala government and the way the Kerala government has cracked down on these protesters that even they weren't expecting it, right?
So the thing is, there is a kind of a level of a hypocrisy that constitutes a Malayali.
It constitutes everybody in every state, I feel like.
Because see, the temple rituals in Kerala is observed very strictly. Nobody really try to dilute it, and nobody really enforce it either. But this is being followed very strictly. And if you look at the Malayali Hindu, they are the one of the well-educated lot in the country, the most educated. Even the women are very educated, and even though they are all very educated, they may look liberal outside, liberal in their, that kind of a liberal in outside, but everybody follow, this if even about the communists, I'm not talking about the communist leaders, and even for the leaders, there are allegations of them going to temple or performing rituals and all in secret. But if you look at the ordinary people who may vote for Communist Party, who are associated with the Communist Party, and all and the others, they all are. The morning starts with every day they take shower, and morning when they go to the whether work or school or whatever, on the way they just go to the temple and then go. And you will, even for a communist, you may see a sandalwood paste on their forehead, and they follow their, that all the rituals and everything what is needed. And the in the private life rituals, there is not too much of rituals, but that is the base, and it really, they keep the religion really private. That's the case. So, but that don't mean that they are not religious. They are religious, but many are communists. Many vote for communists. And when if we look at the history, the one big attack on the Hindus in Kerala was the invasion of Tipu Sultan. And he raised out lot of temples across Malabar. And then another one was this Mopla riots of 1921. Then also many temples were destroyed. If you look in Kerala, there happened to be a big effort by not just by any organizations alone, by individual families also, individuals, to rebuild those temples.
Oh, wow.
Like in 1960s, there was a big movement led by K. Kelap. He is known as Kerala Gandhi.
Oh,
He
wow.
of the pioneer Congress leader in Kerala, of the Congress movement, Indian national movement. He led the salt satyagraha in Kerala. He's one of the person who who was instrumental in establishing Madhrubhumi newspaper, Nair Service Society, and he was after this. I think after non-cooperation movement and all, civil disobedience movement, this salt satyagraha was there. After that, he was more involved in Sarvodaya. He established a lot of Khadi, did lot for Khadi. So these all side of him we learn in school. But there is one another side of him. After independence, when it was EMS government, when the Kerala state was formed, the EMS Namboodiripadu government of communist government, that time they actually divided the Malabar area into and to carve out Malappuram district, which was opposed by Kalapaji, because there had a kind of a communal intention in that. There was, so which caused a lot of protests from various quarters, and Kalapaji opposed that. That I came to know only recently. Recently means in the 2-3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, till then I had no idea. reading a lot about Kelapaji before, but whatever I have told till now have been the what was in the discourse. And then there is one temple in Perindalmanna in Malappuram district, a Shiva temple, Angadipuram Tali temple. So this temple was destroyed by the invaders, and the Shiva Linga was lying on the or somewhere on the street, and lot of bushes and everything was grown up, and it was there, and there was a this government property, I mean, or the nobody's property, that kind of a property also was there. And he asked the government to provide this land to rebuild the temple, reinstall the Shivlinga and re-establish the temple. Then the EMS government didn't allow. They mocked. They told we won't give. And then even the communists had made a slogan against Kelapaji that on a stone on which the dog peed, Kelapan tried to put sandalwood paste.
Wow.
That's very, very, very derogatory statement, which is showing their contempt for the idol worship and the heathen practices. But Kelapan, so see, he was a real leader, and Swami Chinmayananda was also associated with him. It was a huge mass movement, to sum up. So then women kept a portion of the one fistful of rice from their daily share in the daily cooking. They kept away and used that, or collected all that and used that to make money for the temple building process. So women really have a lot of role in whenever we see a movement in Kerala, we see active participation of women. So, and then this temple was built, and that's a really big temple now in that area. And
wow,
that led to an organization named Malabar Kshetra Samrakshana Samiti was formed, and Kshetra Samrakshana Samiti has rebuilt a lot of temples.
Wow.
So there is quite a kind of a track record for Kerala Hindus, which is not much known in English or in outside Malayalam due to various reasons, mainly because I think most of the media, which otherwise tell stories about Kerala, tell a different story about Kerala, which involves only the beef and the other two.
And the communists,
communist, beef, and the Christian Muslim demography. I think that is why we don't hear all these things, so which may give a very different picture about Kerala outside. But Kerala also have a picture which is very much rooted in Hinduism and the rituals and traditions and the ancestor worship and the snake worship. A lot of performing ritualistic art forms, Theyyam. It's very culturally rich, and that all are well preserved in its pristine way. And that aspect is not really highlighted. Like, see that Nilakkal protest, which I think nowadays through social media, many people have came to know about it. There was a cross installed in front of Nilakkal Mahadeva temple, which is on foothills of Sabarimala, which also was resisted by the people. It was a huge popular protest. Lot of people got arrested. Lot of police action happened. And that protest also had a kind of a woman involvement. Means, see, that time the chief minister was Sri K. Karunakaran, who was an ardent devotee of Guru Ayyappan. Every Malayalam month, first day of Malayalam month, wherever he is, he will reach Guruvayur.
Oh, wow.
He was not a person who completely was secular or anything, or showing secular in the sense being ashamed of showing his Hindu-ness. That he was not. But he was as secular as a normal Congress person or a normal Nehruvian Indian should be. And also there can be a lot of protest, a lot of pressure from various quarters when it comes to this kind of issues. I don't know much about that, but anyway, what I understand things only through what I have read. So K. Karunakaran, during that Nilakkal protest time, when K. Karunakaran reached Guruvayur temple as usual for having darshan, the woman in Guruvayur received him with chappals. That clearly rattled him.
Wow.
So the women in Kerala, so that we in Ready to Wait, our group, we were also like somehow we need to. I don't know why the mothers are not moving. They all are speaking at home, but they should come out.
Yeah.
That we used to like, oh, why they are not coming out? They should speak. More women should speak. So, but when the court hearing was happening, lot of videos came out, selfie videos, and now these Facebook lives. Lot of women just did their part by telling their mind through Facebook.
Hmm.
Lot of videos came out. I have posted a lot of the such videos in, took them from the Facebook and posted in Twitter. And I think that all were actually the background, the preparation for the woman to actually come out when it needed. So until the court verdict came against, and until we are sure that, yeah, everything is gone, we don't need to actually come out and make a lot of a show. That
Hmm.
was, I think that was the my people, what was in their mind. They all were keeping a hope that they all were like, hey, nothing, I don't think that much bad is going to happen. So with that confidence, everyone was just seeing, when you look, you might have felt like all are sitting so relaxed. But that doesn't mean that they all were for women entry. The silence may not always mean that they're on the opposite side. And then when it really demanded, and when somebody was actually having some protest, and every who came, then it was like my one friend was telling me that her mother was like, I am going to Sabarimala, that 5 6 days. That time she was like, her house is she's from Kottayam, and she was telling that my mother is now telling that she want to go for block.
Wow.
He was like, I am afraid. My mother is telling this. So, so I think no politicians actually gauged this reality of Malayalis, and no Lutyens intellectuals gauged this. And Tellini, this communists have not yet, not at all. And then what the police action happened? See, when crisis happens, when something go against your will, what would be a Stalinist's reaction? What can be a Stalinist's reaction? That is what we saw in Kerala. A Stalinist can only react as a Stalinist. We cannot expect Gandhian ways from a Stalinist.
Yeah, because the basic premise is that the government is supposed to know what's good for the people, and so if you are opposing the government, then you're opposing the will of the people, and therefore you are an enemy of the state, and you
Yeah.
are liable to be dealt with like an enemy of the state.
Yes, that is what we have seen with communism everywhere where they had power. And here they have power. Yeah, they came through democracy. They are in democracy when everything is okay. Everything when they cannot execute their power, their will, or at least when they are in that mind of a people who adhere to the Indian Constitution and go through adhere to the democracy as a normal situation, then they can in normal situations in times of peace, people can pretend to be anything. But when a crisis comes, and when the person when you are in a position where you are unable to take care of things, or you are in a panic situation, then you cannot completely pretend. And that is some time where the communists really showed their real face. Maybe till then they didn't have too much of opportunity, but in personal side, or where in colleges, for example, when SFI is, people don't follow SFI, or if SFI, see, in a college when SFI lose election,
Yeah.
there it is tyranny. When SFI is in power, they speak a lot of democracy. When they lose election, the extra police force is needed in the college campus.
Yeah. Same thing happens in Delhi University as well. If the communist parties are losing, and when the communist parties are campaigning, then there's always a lot of violence. But when they win, they talk about democracy and freedom of expression and all the fun stuff.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
think what we saw in Kerala is how they, their real face revealed.
yeah, definitely. And it was so interesting. It was so interesting because you said yourself before that usually the news that comes out of Kerala is news about the sort of Christians and the Muslims and the communists and the beef and all that stuff. A lot of news about Hindus does not come out of Kerala, or
Yeah,
even if it comes in Kerala, it'll be in the local channels which people outside of Kerala are not necessarily watching. So
yeah,
people outside of Kerala are usually not privy to stuff that is happening in Kerala. So the narrative, even within the Hindus, that is built for the people of Kerala, is that the Kerala Hindus are a nonchalant lot. They don't really care. They're not really interested. They're not really interested in if their traditions get eroded and if their traditions get destroyed. A lot of people think like this. But when these people saw these Facebook videos, these Twitter videos, and even the news channels had to cover this, that they're seeing tens of thousands of people marching in the streets overwhelmingly peacefully. It is important to say that as well, because there is this another narrative now being created where people are saying that women who are trying to enter the temple are being assaulted. I think it's important to point out that overwhelmingly the protests have been very, very peaceful. The people are just marching, and they are just making sure that their voices are heard. So when people see this outside of Kerala, they're like, okay, wait, hang on a second. So Hindus in Kerala actually care, and Hindus in Kerala have actually given the best example possible to Hindus everywhere else about how you can organize over a cause, how you can do it peacefully, and how you can make your voices heard across the country. So I think the Hindus of Kerala have set an excellent example for, I
yeah.
think, Hindus in the rest of the country. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, of course. I have set an example because see, if you we may look for the leader of this movement, you cannot find a single figure.
Exactly. Yes.
Everybody, every individual Hindu have done his bit, like the squirrel Rama Bhakta, to contribute or to bring a good, positive conclusion for the Save Sabarimala movement. Everybody has whatever they can to, maybe see, if we just if when I just open the YouTube, I see a lot of videos by people across Kerala talking their mind. It includes communists, it
Hmm.
includes Congress people, it includes the saffron side, it includes women and men. And from every kind of social strata also.
Whoops, Daisy. I think the video might be frozen. Are you guys able to see the video? I feel like the video might be frozen, right? Yeah, it seems like the video might be frozen. I might try again to get her back on. Okay, while the video is frozen, I'm going to say what I need to say quickly. If you guys have any questions for Anjali with regards to Sabrimala, make sure to start asking your questions in the yeah I know she's gone off the grid. I'll try and get her back on, but if you guys have any questions for Anjali in the meantime, start writing down your questions below in the top chat, and while I try to get her back on. I think the video might just be frozen. See, she might just need to log back in. So start writing down your questions right now, and in about 10 minutes we're going to wrap up the chat and we're going to start asking your questions that you put in. So I'm going to take the Patreon questions and the super chat questions first, and then I'm going to come back and ask the yeah, I'm going to come back and ask the rest of the questions later as well. So I'll try and cover as many questions as possible. Let me just see if I can get her back on. Hang on. Yeah. So, how to remove government control from Hindu temples? Yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. I'm very happy that I was actually able to get her on because people have been spreading this whole narrative about how this is anti-women and this is somehow trying to discriminate against women and things like that. But they're not taking into account, like we said, the 41-day vratam that you need to do. They're not taking into account the vow of Naishtik Brahmacharya that the deity has taken. They're not taking into account the principles of pran pratishtha. Un- Under that principle, if a deity has been placed in a temple, then the temple becomes the deity's home, right? And so legally, this is also a true thing. This is the deity's home under pran pratishtha. So now the deity has certain rights. Like if a deity has taken a vow of Naishtik Brahmacharya, then the deity has the right to be able to follow that vow. So it is simple things like this that I feel like people are not willing to take into account, even though these are very simple things. So yeah, just hang around while I try to get her back on. I don't know. Sometimes it happens, man. There's like a power surge. Should we file a PIL in court regarding deities' rights? Well, I think that has already happened, right? And they were talking. Well, one of the arguments that J. Sai Deepak put in front of the court was the deity's rights under the Pran Pratishtha, and just the way Ram Lala has rights under the Ayodhya petition, similarly, Ayyappa has rights under the Sabarimala petition. So the deity already has rights. So I think it's going to be interesting when the review petition is filed, and we're going to see what kind of arguments there that are presented in front of the judges. Then, uh, okay, okay, keep hanging on and keep writing your questions. I'm going to make a list of the questions right now. So if you have any questions, if you have only questions, yeah, make sure to keep writing them down here as well. And again, it's important to remember. I'll say it while she's still trying to log in. I believe uh, I'll say it right now that there are temples in Kerala where men are not allowed to enter either, because the deity within the temple has taken certain vows under which apparently I don't know the exact reason because I'm not from Kerala. I don't know that much, but there are temples. I believe there's a temple called the Attukal temple. There's a temple called the Chakkulatwaku temple. I'm probably not pronouncing them right, but there are temples within Kerala where I think men are not allowed to enter. But uh, I don't see anybody raising too much of a hue and cry about it. So it's just an interesting situation. Chakku Chakulathukavu. Yes, sorry. My pronunciation is horrible, but I think it's one of those temples. Yeah. So there are a couple of temples. There's another temple, I believe, in Tamil Nadu, the Bhagwati temple in Tamil Nadu, where I think men are not allowed, or something like that. It's women only, or something like that. I'm not sure. I think there's one there. There's one in Muzaffarpur, in my state, in Bihar, where I believe women are not allowed. Oh, men are not allowed. Sorry. Hi,
Yeah,
Anjali.
I don't know, something happened with the internet suddenly.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. That's no worries. I was just keeping the crowd entertained.
Okay. So,
So I forgot where we were. I believe we were talking about the sort of government response to the
yes.
protests, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the government really about the communists, they how
Yes.
they behave, and the women they were actually expecting violence even in the Namajaba Yatra happened conducted by the. See, it started in Pandalam. There, just the Pandalam royal family being the primary stakeholder in the temple, they just told, yeah, we can organize a small Namajabam in Pandalam. But at least hearing that they told from them, and people, the news spread across through the social media, through WhatsApp and everyone, and people came from faraway places in buses. Lot of people came, and around almost 1 lakh people joined that on the first day.
Wow.
Getting inspired from that, various other places in every small in nook and corner of Kerala, organized people just organized by themselves, like a few people from a temple, just or start from there. All those who join just join there, and the organizations like Nair Service Society and all, they were in the case also. They such local Hindu organizations also took part. Then the political organizations joined. Everybody started organizing protests, because if you are not doing that, then you are against Sabarimala and against people. That
True.
became the narrative. So then it became big, and I happened to hear that everywhere it's like you don't know who is organizing, because just people join. So that shows, and I see what I see in that is for Hinduism, Hinduism survive under
Oops. Seems to be frozen again. Okay, so far, I think she might have to try that again. We might just, I think, whoops. There's two now. Let's have a look. Yeah, I know. My internet seems to be okay. My internet seems to be holding up. But I think there might be a couple of. Oh, this is my video editor, guys. Hello, video editor. It looks like the Pinarayi government is trying to prove a point in Kerala by trying to breach the temple by hook or by crook. This is the same government which has dragged its feet to arrest Bishop. Yeah, I mean, they dragged their feet to arrest the bishop, and you also kind of saw you saw the rock star welcome that the guy got, right, when he left when he got out of the jail. Like, people didn't even consider him to be even remotely involved in, even though there were some credible charges against the guy. He still got like a rock star welcome. So that I guess tells you a lot. And there are some people that are saying here in the comments that there are Christians in India that are not proud of their Indian heritage. I don't believe that's true. I've spoken to Christians that are very proud of their Indian heritage, and they're very Indianized Christians, in my opinion. And I'm not saying this is everyone, but I've met Christians that are very Indianized Christians. They're not the kind of people that are like, oh, only Jesus and nothing else, and my culture doesn't matter and stuff like that. But they're very like Sanatani Christians. They're like, just like some of you are followers of maybe Ram or somebody else, but they're just followers of Jesus. And if you have Christians like that in India, I have no problem against those people. Those people are very in line with the fabric of Indian society. But yeah, but the problem that I have is with the problem that I have is with the sort of strict. Oh, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to go to hell, and I need to convert you. Those are the kind of people that I have problems with, obviously, for obvious reasons, because they don't see India and they don't recognize India's right to exist as a culture and as a civilization. Those are the kind of people that I have problems with. But again, I've met a few. I met a few very Indianized sort of Sanatani Christians, if that's possible. I met a few maximum. I've met a few. There are a few. They're out there. Not everybody, for sure. I think a majority is not like that, but they're out there. Yeah, there was one in my university, which was very very Indianized Christian. Those are the kind of Christians I like. I have no problem with those people. Yeah, it's the problem comes from the problem comes from these missionary organizations. That's where a large percentage of the problem comes from. Problems come from these people that are just like, okay, you guys, your culture is wrong, your practices are wrong, you need to leave these practices, you need to leave your culture, you need to convert, you need to accept Jesus. That's the nonsense I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with if somebody wants to just live their life and somebody uh, enjoys their own life, and they appreciate their neighbor's culture. If you're a follower of Jesus and you say, okay, I have no problem with people that follow Ram or Nanak or Ayyappa or anybody for that matter, I have no problem with you. No problem with you at all. So I know it does sound weird. Sanatani Christian sounds weird. I know it does sound weird, but I feel like it's a possibility, because what essentially you're a you know what I mean, Sanatani Christian is like you're a follower of Jesus, but you don't have a problem with anybody else. That's what makes you a Sanatani Christian. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass, apparently. Okay. Questions. I have questions here from KT. I have questions here from Sushma. I'll try and have. I think I have one more. Let's see. Why won't Ayyappa deity ain't like? Okay, I have a few questions. I have a few questions. So let's see. Let's see if we can get her to log back in. Internet issues, man. Everybody has them. I've had them a lot. Thinks about the Ram Mandir Ayodhya case. I feel the same way, right? I think what she feels about Sabarimala is the same thing most people feel about Ram Mandir as well, because there used to be a Ram temple at the site where Babri Masjid was constructed. This has been proven from the data that has been collected by the Archaeological Survey of India. So clearly, there used to be a temple there. And this is Shriram, at least for North Indians, Shriram is a very important figure. So if there is a place that is considered to be the birthplace of Ram, that is considered to be the greatest, the place where Ram lived and ruled and was born, and if they want to build a Ram temple there, if Hindus want to build a Ram temple there, a temple of a person that they consider so important, then I think they should be allowed to do it. It's like it's like saying that Muslims cannot have a mosque in Mecca. It's like saying the same thing. It's like saying that no, destroy the mosque in Mecca and build a temple there or build a church there. That's it's one of their most sacred places, and they should have a mosque there if they want to. There's no problem with that. And the same thing you should do with Ram Mandir as well. If there is a place in India where there is such a strong feeling. Oh, hi Anjali.
I tried to connect through the my app in the phone, but
Oh yeah.
that That was no the hanging. I don't know.
Oh, it's
The
hanging as well.
But now look, hope this is this will go like this, because
Yeah.
normally internet don't happen to have any problems.
Okay.
But so I didn't have any backup because I never had this kind of a situation.
No, no, that's no problem at all. We're pretty close to wrapping it up anyway. I'm just going to take a couple of questions from the audience, if that's okay. But
Okay.
before I take the question, I just wanted to sort of ask you. We were talking about the communist government's response to the protests and stuff like that, and what how great an example the Hindus of Kerala have set for the rest of the Hindus in the rest of India. And I wanted to talk to you and sort of get your thoughts on the way forward. What do you see? Number one, what lessons can we learn from the way people have organized around Sabrimala? And secondly, what do you see as a way forward for people that want to achieve, tangible results for Hindus on the ground?
One is this really shows the power of people.
Yes.
Because if the entire Hindus cutting across the all other divisions come together for a cause, that will be heard. If Hindus' cause is not being heard by, I mean, that will be heard means here now, then people may be thinking like, oh, the court didn't give you a favorable verdict. But then the given the situations of the Indian state, this is only a beginning. So we cannot completely say that, yeah, that will, cannot completely dismiss of what I said. That, see, this clearly the narrative have changed, except for the very vested, in the quarters with very much, too much of vested interest. So that change in narrative, and also when the entire community come forward together, that really have a strength. And then you can see in Kerala, Congress and BJP both are in support of the devotees. They are so because uh, they have to. Because if they don't, if they completely ignore the Hindus, the entire people ignore the Hindus, then there is no competition.
Yes.
Because these are also voters. Anyway, communists are on the other side. Then now, if you please this much of a people, then there will be clearly results. So I think the Hindus also have to realize this factor, that when we really have a bargaining power, then our needs can be fulfilled. We might be heard better.
Yeah.
One. And the second thing is that for people who work on ground and all, see that we need to really combine the way of, we need to understand the value of narrative building. And on ground, we really need to get more and more people with us. Just being on ground alone cannot help. It has to be the people in power have to know that this is happening on the ground. So for that, there have to be a collective effort. We cannot completely dismiss of one aspect, the ground, for the elite aspect or the narrative building process. Both has to work together.
Right.
And I think for
Sorry, go
Shani
ahead.
temple and all, if there was a real popular protest, the narrative would not have been different. And then the result would have been different.
True, because I think it's such an interesting idea. I think it's such a good idea that has happened here. I think it's been an amalgamation of so many great things. And one of the important things, in my opinion, that has come out from it is, well, of course, the level of organization that has been shown by the Hindus of Kerala, number one. And secondly, I feel like the fact that people have actually, gone to a place where changes can happen. For example, they've gone to the court. They've actually started fighting these cases in the courts where changes can really happen. They've actually started approaching the government to, file ordinances. Now that may happen, that may not happen. That's a different thing. The
Yeah.
important thing is that people have started to take these steps where tangible changes happen. You know, it's important to make your voices heard on social media. That's a very important thing. I'm not undermining that at all. But I think it's important to also for Hindus to start taking that next step,
Yes.
start approaching courts and start going to governments where real change happens, right?
The lobbying in all
Lobbying.
it is needed. That for we cannot just put all our responsibility or all our wants, assign somebody or outsource our work to somebody and sit idle and expect them to do that. That may not happen. So if we need something, we have to work, and when we work, we have to work the way it we can produce results. So we may have to approach the political power circle. We may have to approach the judiciary, or where the fight is needed. They're all we might have to work on. And for that, I think what we did, one good thing from our part, what we had done is that once this Ready to Wait as a social media campaign, it got some momentum. We really formed a institution named People for Dharma, an NGO, and then using with People for Dharma, we went to the court. So we just didn't restrict ourselves to the social media and sat there and keep repeating what we have been telling. But the momentum we got this, that we used as a backup to go to the court and tell what we need, because that is where the real fight was happening. How much we try to convince Arnab Goswami, that won't help as long as our voice is not heard in the court. When our voice is heard in the court, we got at least one judge listened to us and gave a verdict which acknowledged what our lawyer had told. So that is there in the record already. Now we have this option of going for review petition. If none of the from the devotee side have not gone for the court, have gone for court, then there would have been kind of now in the situation like this, the UDF government, the government, after when this LDF government, UDF government went and this LDF government came, the government changed their stand.
Right.
So government is actually the ones whom we expect to be the ones who are voicing the opinion of the people. But they didn't voice the people's opinion. Then there had to be somebody else to represent the people. So if we were not there, or if NSS was not there, if the other intervention petitioners were not there, then the possibility of somebody going to for the review also was less, because government, considering the Devasam board is also not going for review now.
Yes.
So I think, and we made this People for Dharma. People for Dharma is there. Sabarimala is one fight, but we can actually take up more fights.
True.
So the people who, when we want to do something, we might have to think about making something solid so that we can sustain our fight. Because otherwise, when some wind comes, it may go, and then maybe we may not be able to survive. We may not be able to, withstand the pressures. Like the police arrested a lot of people. Somebody has to, if there is no institutions for Hindu, no people, no organizations for Hindus, then it is difficult for those people to get somebody to go around and work for those people to get bail. And so there are a lot of organizations already. I'm telling that the more, the better.
Yeah.
Because I think we have to learn from the Jews. This is really a clash of civilization, and this is a fight for survival. So more than survival and existence. So we need to adopt a bit from the Jews.
True. I think that's a very good point. I think that's a very good point. The point about organizing, and the point about actually going and lobbying in places where changes can be made. If there's one lesson that we need to learn from it, I think it should be. I think it really should be that there need to be more organization like that, like these that need to come up. There needs to be more support to organizations like People for Dharma to fight these cases, and as much support that can be given, I think is better. So let me take a couple of questions before we wrap up from the audience as well. So one of these questions comes from Patreon. It's a Patreon question from Roshan Raj. He says that being a Twitter follower of Anjali for the past 3 years or so, I've seen some genuine concerns, in her for Indian heritage and Indian civilization. So I want to know from her, what does she think is the way forward in the leftist sort of dominated Kerala, and how can Hindus start to assert themselves better in within this leftist domination?
Hindus are already started
Right.
asserting, and then how it will reciprocate or how we can see further is, I think we have to wait, because we can see that we might be seeing that in the election process, and yeah, I think the rest will trickle down. It will have these all what understanding realizations which Hindus of Kerala got in the past couple of weeks and months. I think that all will be having a trickling effect in every aspect of their behavior.
One of the questions, one of the questions being asked is the Devaswam board, the director of the Devaswam board, is it appointed by the government?
Yeah, the president of the Devaswam board is a political nominee.
Is a political appointee, and is there an? I think the question was: is there an attempt to maybe have the government relinquish the Devaswam board so the Devaswam board can run itself?
I mean, government, I don't think that will happen from the side of the government or the politicians, because power is what everybody likes. But ideally, these political interventions is not legal, because the covenant signed between the royals of the Travancore and Cochin Kingdom with the Indian Union, when they merged with India, it clearly asks to ensure that the temples are maintained how it was maintained by the Hindu kingdom of Travancore and Cochin. And if the government is not allowing the Devaswam board to function the way it should be, because Devaswam board is not the owner of the temples, they are just caretakers of the temple.
Yes.
So the caretakers, if they are not behaving the way they has to, then legally it is not right. So there have to be that kind of legal actions to remind them that, see, your job is not to act as if you are the priest or you are the gods. The gods and priests and the Uralar are there already. So that I think the politicians, when the Communist Party's agenda become the Devaswam board's agenda, that is against the covenant, against the Indian Constitution. So that has to be questioned.
Right.
And I think there is one case by Dr. Swami in the Supreme Court, which is on this regard. And then Indic Collective is also has given a case about the payments. The government has to give to the Devaswam board. There is a lot of annuity amount which the government has lapsed. The government took over a lot of land from the temples during land reforms. And almost thousands of crores of money is not being paid, which actually had to be paid.
Wow.
So government haven't done justice to not justice, government haven't kept their word, which they had to pay to the had to pay to the temples and the Devasam boards. So the Indie Collective has taken up a case regarding that. So there are, I think, more is there to come to in this regard about questioning the, about reminding the Devasam board how to behave, how they have to follow what is their responsibility and duty. They are not the puppet of the political party which constitute the government. Devasam board is an autonomous body. So that it is the duty of the people to ensure that
Yes.
the Devasam board is behaving and how they should be.
Yes.
And so we can wait for whatever is going to happen.
Okay, and let me take one final question, which is which could be a very good last word as well, kind of. The question was, I believe, it's just gotten lost, but I think the question was, you were talking about earlier about Hindus learning from the Jews, and what lessons, if you were to give, 2 or 3 lessons that Hindus should imbibe from the Jews, what would you say those would be?
One is building. I think some efforts have been slowly started by the Hindus themselves, like World Hindu Economic Forum, for example. We just not, this Hindu philosophy or the scriptures alone don't constitute what is Hinduism.
Yes.
And Hindus as a community, Hinduism, Indics as a civilization, if we need to survive, we need to understand that economy, politics, culture, every aspect of the society, the science, everywhere, we had our contribution as a civilization, and we need to work on it to, with that perspective that we have to, we should not completely tie ourselves into this, for example, if I say this, in India, the state is secular. Ideally, the state should be secular, and the people normally what their religion is or what their culture is, they live that. But here, what is happening is that the Hindus remain secular in their individual.
Yeah.
Then there is no point in we lamenting about we have been left behind and we are we are becoming a dying civilization. We want, if we understand the importance of acknowledging our past, acknowledging our legacy, and living with being true to the civilization which we belong to, not just in the spiritual and religious part, but in the cultural aspect too. That is one thing which Jews really have accomplished, that they really is aware of that. And and another thing is this, like that is how they became whatever the power is, they have their share in every power centers.
Yes.
So if you want to become a Vishwaguru, I mean, Vishwaguru Bharat can be possible only if we have our say in every corners of power. One example I can say, since I'm in Germany, I can say one thing is that here there is here in Germany, various people from various countries are living here as expats, and now more immigrants are coming. But when it comes about the rights of the immigrants and how the multiculturalism and all what now the West is into, the narrative is all about the 3 Abrahamic religions. And Buddhism, somehow there is some part in the story. But Hindus don't have, because when Hindus here, they just come here, they do their job, they live their life, they go back, they pay tax, they follow all the rules, they live like they are very nice and true and everything, and they just go. But no one sees.
Yeah.
No one see them because they are not showing themselves.
Yep.
Then if some kind of, if some kind of a policy making or something is happening here with respect to the migrants, then there may not be anyone to talk for Hindus, or there may not be anyone who will be acknowledging that this kind of particular population also is there. So if it only Hindus will do that, nobody else will come and do that for Hindus.
Yeah, I think
I
that's very true.
about India because Hindus are spread across the globe. So wherever the Hindus are, they have to identify this fact. And then it is not about just India. Like here, there is a big community of Afghan Hindus from Afghanistan. Have been living in Afghanistan for around 1,000 years. Means they are not some Hindus went to, left back during, went to there for some business in Afghanistan, and when Taliban came, they had to fly away. No, they are real Afghanis. And I happen to see them because there is a mandir here, Asamai Mada temple, which is Asamai Devi is there, Kabul's Devi.
Oh, wow.
So this group of Hindus, this Afghanistani Hindus, they are around 700 families here, and many came as refugees. So many have refugee visa. So we only thinking about India. We don't have to think about these Afghani Hindus. But this Afghani, lot of old people there, they really want to, for at least once before dying, they want to see Ganga Ma. And there are people who really want the ashes to be, all the rituals to be done in Ganga. They used to do that. But since they are in refugee visa here, now they don't get Indian visa to India.
Wow.
So since they are refugees, the government of India don't allow visa for them. So those who have in German citizenship, they can. But they are only some younger generation who born here or anything. But the older people, it really pains for them because of this kind of dilemma or a fate they have. They have a really big mandir here. They are a very flourishing population here. None of them are poor. They all have, although they came as refugees or anything, they have good education. Are very good in business because they are a business community from generations.
Oh, wow.
So they are good in business. They all are rich people. They have money. And their mandir is really awesome. That they have a pandit from Madura, in this UP Madura.
Oh, Mathura, okay.
Pandit. And they have, every time they give this pravachan and everything is fine. But they are Afghanistanis. They are not Indian. So they are unable to go to India and do their rituals. But as a Hindu, when we look as a Hindu, we can understand their pain.
Yes.
Because they really a Hindu's life, I mean, they really want to do their rituals in Ganga. That is it's a genuine reason. So, yeah, I think Guruji, Sri Ravi Shankar and all has taken up the cause to, reach out to the government of India and all. But this kind of small, we may think it is very small, but it is actually, with respect to the Hindus, it is very, very important aspects, which I think everybody in NRIs and people in India should recognize that, and we need to understand that when a Hindu in Malda is getting, or a Hindu in Uttar Pradesh is having any problem, that is the problem of a Hindu.
Yes.
Hindu in Kerala is suffering. That is problem of every Hindus. So everybody, when we realize that kind of, I think Jews have that feeling.
They have that, yeah.
And that is what helps them in surviving.
Definitely, I agree, and I think these are very good lessons as well. These are very good lessons for the Hindu community in general to remember that you need to start having a say in prominent organizations in every aspect of sort of Indian life and internationally as well. You need to start organizing so that you have a say, and you need to start lobbying, and you need to start approaching centers where tangible changes actually happen. So I think these are very good lessons for us to remember and to take away. Very good takeaways from the Sabarimala issue as well, I believe. And I think this is a very good air place to sort of conclude our conversation as well. I really want to thank Anjali for coming on the show today. It's been very enlightening for me. I obviously learned a lot, not being from Kerala myself and not knowing a ton about Kerala. It's been a very enlightening and educational experience for me. I hope it's been the same way for the people watching. Again, I want to thank Anjali a lot for taking time out of her day and doing this today. So thank you very much, Anjali.
Thank you, Shyam.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, guys, please go ahead and you can. I have provided the link where you can follow people of Dharma. You can support them, people for Dharma. Sorry, you can follow Anjali as well. The links are provided in the description, so you can go ahead and do that now. If you would like to subscribe to the Sham Sharma Show, you can do that down below as well. If you'd like to support the Sham Sharma Show on Patreon, you can do that below as well. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank everybody for commenting, for asking questions. And again, thank you to Anjali for joining. I will see everybody again soon. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.